Good morning, children. How are you doing? Yeah, today we're going to deal with a new lesson that's a food production from plants and the methods of management. That be the session 1. Now let's go into our topic. Daily we're taking different types of food materials, right? In our routine life. From morning to night, we take different types of food materials like say fruits, vegetables, then say these are cereals, pulses, oil seeds, right? So from where we are getting all these things? Yeah, we're all getting them from the agriculture, right? So we're mainly dependent on agriculture for our food, and most of our food products, food products means just now I told you, like say there's fruits, yeah, fruits, then vegetables, okay, and then say there's cereals, then pulses, oil seeds. All these things are obtained from the plants. Of course, we get our food materials from animals also, but most of our food requirements are achieved by these plants, right? So when the plants are grown in a large number, to get useful products, then they can be called as crops, right? So the plants, here definition is very, very important. The plants that grown in a large number, means, for the acres and the hectares where they're growing the same type of a crop, okay? So for the what purpose? That means to get useful products, either rice, wheat, jowar, or say this vegetables like this, okay? And such plants can be called as crops, and the process of growing crops can be called as agriculture, right? Okay, this is the definition for this crops and agriculture. Now let's come to the next topic, that is duration of crops. Duration, what is meant by duration? Means time period. That means when any crop is sown, so how many days it requires for the harvestation. Harvestation means ready for what? Cutting. Ready for the cutting, right? So different types of plants, they take different time periods for the harvestation, and depending upon that time period, the plants can be divided into two types, right? So when we take some crops, like say this jowar, then the red gram, they take 180 days or more than 180 days for the harvestation. Harvestation means to get the yield. We can get a yield from those plants, right? So what we call such a crops means we call them as long-term crops. Correct. So how many days? That is around 180. 180 means 180 or more than 180 days. That means around 6 months time. Okay. But when we take some other crops, like say this green gram, the next black gram, so they take what? They take 100 days. Sorry, it's not 111. Okay, it's 100, right? 100 days for a harvestation. Then such crops can be called as short-term crops. 100 days means we can say around 3 months time. What about long-term crops? They take half a year. There is 180 days. That means 3 months time. But whatever this short-term crops means only half time. That means within 3 months the crops will give the production, right? So in this way, depending upon the period of harvestation, the crops can be divided into two types: long-term crops and short-term crops. Okay, and then in our daily life we eat different types of fruits and vegetables. Okay, and can you say that these fruits and vegetables are available throughout the year? No. So some fruits and vegetables are very high in a particular season. Particular season means in summer season we can find more fruits here. See, in a summer we may find some types of fruits and vegetables. Okay, and in a winter we can find some other like this. In a rainy season, some other like this. Okay, and some are less number and some are not at all available, right? So when we take a particular season, in that season some other crops, some other fruits and vegetables may be available in a large number, some may be in a less number, and some may be totally not available. Got it? Okay, so in this way these fruits and vegetable crops are the seeds, fruits and vegetables are not at all available in the same ratio throughout a year, right? So their presence may be more in a few months and maybe less in a few months, or completely absent in a few months. Got it? Right. Then, water is essential for growing crops. Water, water is very, very important. Okay, and in our country, most of the farmers are they're dying themselves. They're getting suicide. Why? Why means they could not able to get expected product. Okay, why means that's due to absence of this water. Okay, so depending upon the water in our surroundings, we must decide the crop. Okay, without thinking about the water, if you go for any crop, then what means then water availability will be very, very difficult to the plants, and so the plants may die, and then ultimately the farmers, they get suicide. Okay, generally in the rainy season, water is available in plenty amounts, right? Okay, and in that season we can find that all these ponds, dams, then the lakes, and then the ditches, all these water bodies are completely flooded, completely filled with water, and so that so in a rainy season the farmers they grow a variety of crops, right? So why most of the farmers, they like to grow the crops in the rainy season means, so as water is available in plenty amounts. Okay, so here we can find one term, the crops that are grown in the rainy season. So what are the plants or what are the crops we can grow only in a rainy season? Such crops can be called as a kharif crops. Even in newspapers and also in the news also, you may heard about these terms, kharif, rabi, like this, right? So what is meant by kharif means the crops which can be grown only in a rainy season. Clear? Okay, and then what's the next one? The crops that can be grown in a winter, the beans. So here, can you see this? Yeah, by observing this picture, you can say which crops are more common in the rainy season. Okay, so what's the next one? Which grow in the winter season, winter. So some other crops can be grown only in a winter. Okay, and such crops can be called as a rabi, right? And here, so from this picture you can see which crops can be grown in a rabi season, right? So actually there's only two seasons, but some scientists, they gave another term also, that is a Jayad. So what is this Jayad means? According to this, the crops which can be grown in the summer, season. When it becomes summer, which fruits are more common? Yeah, you are right. There is a watermelon, cucumber, then a muskmelon, right? So they can be grown only in a summer season, right? And what we call such crops means we call it as a Jayad, right? So it is not present in your textbook. You please note it down. Of course, I think you may get this in your social studies also. Okay, so depending upon these seasons, right? So these crops can be divided into three types. What are they? Kharif in a rainy season, then Rabi in a winter season, then Jayad in a summer season. Okay, the next one, crops production is based on flowering. 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 What is meant by flowering? So even in your home also you may find some fruit-yielding plants. Okay, like a pomegranate, then a papaya, coconut, like this, right? So here First we get a flower, and then the flower gets converted into what? Flower gets converted into fruit. But how it is possible? Yeah, very good. There is a pollination and a fertilization. When the pollination and the fertilization are completed, then the flowers are converted into these fruits. So we can say the flowering is a very important stage in agriculture. When the flowering is more, then automatically we can expect for more production. Okay, that's why we must take care of this flowering. So the flower will come out from the plant after certain height. That means from the first day of plantation we cannot get flowers. Okay, but whenever the plant is grown up to certain height, and when it develops certain branches and the next nodes, and even when the plant develops 7 to 9 leaves, from that time we can observe this flowering. Okay, so but from the birth onwards we cannot find this flowering, right? So after the plant grows to certain age or a certain period, there only flowering develops. Okay, so flowering of plants also depends on duration of nights. Duration of night, what is meant by duration of night? That means time period. For how much time period this night is available, that is called night duration. So when we take some other plants, so those plants, they produce more flowering when this night duration is more. Night duration is more. Okay, you got the point? When night period is more, at the time some of the plants, they produce more flowering. So when they produce more flowering, then automatically we get more production, right? So in some plants, when it is 12 and a half hours, flowering will be more. Okay, for example, when we take say these examples, wheat. Can you see this? Yeah, wheat. The next maize and cotton. So these three plants, when this night duration is more than 12 and a half hours, then the flowering will be more in these plants. Correct. And in some plants, flowering can be produced at any time of the year. That means here there is no control or there is no effect of a night duration on the flowering. When we take the crop like a soybean, no, soybean, see, soya. So in a soybean plant, so flowering is not at all affected by this night duration. But when we take this three, that's a wheat, maize and a cotton, so here night duration plays very crucial part. That means when night duration is more, then automatically flowering will be more. But here it's useless. Got it? Okay. If we cultivate wheat in the month of July, then what happens means, to grow for a certain period, it takes how much time? There is 8 to 10 weeks. Okay, so there's a growth period will takes place up to 8 to 10 weeks. 8 to 10 weeks, and after that time period, flowering begins. So to get the flowering in a wheat, how much time it takes? There is 8 to 10 weeks. But at the time, it would be October. October means what? October means it's the beginning of our winter season. Okay. So we get a hot climate from February onwards. That means, so here October, okay. So at the time, this flowering will be more, and later this flowering will be converted into what? Into this fruit, that is into grain. So this grain formation occurs by this by the month of February. So from February onwards we can get hot climate. That means it's the beginning of a summer season, and we can experience this very hotness from the month of February, right? So this hotness is very useful For what? For the maturing the grains. Maturing the grains means for the complete development of grains, this hotness is a very, very important. So that's why this wheat is cultivated in the Rabi season. In the Rabi season. Okay, otherwise, if you go for the other one that is like a Kharif, then what happens? Then totally there will be spoilage. Correct. Okay. Then by keeping this in mind, farmers cultivate some crops in a Rabi and some crops in a Kharif. Okay, that's why. So here, have you seen this picture? Yeah, this is the list of the crops which can be grown in a Rabi, and this is in case of a Kharif, right? But you know, this rice is cultivated in both the seasons. Okay, by means, you know, rice is very, very important food item, and that's why. So different varieties of rice are available, which can be grown some in a Kharif and some in a Rabi like this. Okay, but the quantity of grains is higher in a Kharif and lower in a Rabi. Correct. So rice can be grown in both the seasons, but there is a slight difference. What is that? Yeah, in a Kharif paddy, we can get more quality, more production when compared with the Rabi. Why? Yeah, why means, you know, Kharif means it's a rainy season, right? So as more water is available in a Kharif season, the production will be more. You know, rice crop needs very high amounts of water. Correct. Okay, that's the reason. The next one, growing paddy and agriculture practices. You know, rice is prime. Prime means what? First. Okay, and the most essential and staple food crop. Staple means it's a very, very important food crop in our country. Not only in our country, but throughout the globe, it is a very, very important food item. Okay, that's why the rice can be otherwise called as a global grain. Global means what? Worldwide grain, right? So throughout the globe, so which is the grain that is used throughout the globe means there is a rice. Okay, that's why we can call this as a global grain, and it is grown as a Kharif crop and also as a Rabi crop. Okay, and even throughout the country, that means when we take Rajasthan to Arunachal Pradesh, and say from Kerala to Jammu, throughout the country, so this rice is grown, and even it is grown in cooler temperature regions. Like say this is China, Japan, and Australia. Right? So here you can observe this table. So in this table, you can see that in India, the land under rice cultivation in the millions of hectares. So what is that? That is 40 millions of hectares is under rice cultivation, and in China it's 37. So yeah, 37, and in Japan 2.5. But whenever we take production here, production per acre, there is kgs per hectare. Which country is producing more? There is Japan. No, in Japan, the land area under agriculture, land area under rice cultivation is very, very less. But even then, the production, see, if you observe this, the production is very, very high, right? So what is the reason? You know, what's the reason means? You know, in Japan, the farmers use very advanced techniques, and you know, that's a completely mechanized. They use different types of machines. But what about our country? In our country, we are still using, most of the farmers are using, still using the old and the traditional methods, and that's why we are not able to get more and more production. Okay, you just imagine. So even for the little amount of land, these Japanese are producing this amount. Okay, you just imagine if whatever the amount of area we are cultivating under rice, if that amount is available for Japan, then what happens? Then Japanese will be in a top position in rice production. Correct. Okay, that's it. The next one, the paddy growing field is divided into small plots. Smaller plots. When you observe our surrounding areas, in our surrounding areas, almost all the farmers are growing which crop? That is rice. Yeah. Have you seen this rice crop is divided into small chambers, and we call them as a kayalu or a madulu, muddy, right? Like this. So why they divide them into plots? Means for easy carrying out of activities. Correct. For to maintain all the activities easily, they divide this large field into small plots. Okay. So that what means this leveling of the field, leveling, and then irrigating the crop becomes very easy. Correct. Okay. And then to get better yield, farmers prepare a plan in advance. This planning is a very important. Whatever we do, whether we're constructing a house or whatever, we're constructing any, we're starting any business, okay, anything, what we do, we go for the planning. That means when to start and how to start, and how to that means from which place we need to get all these requirements, right? How to store them. Okay, in this way we get proper planning. In the same way, there's a farmers also, they prepare a clear planning in advance. Okay, so here nature of soil means whether type of soil. That means whether the soil is a clay type or a sandy type or a loam type. So in this way, what they do means first they check out the type of soil. The next, humidity. Humidity means how much amount of water the soil is able to hold. Now say for example, it's a sandy soil. If you pour water, can you see the water over the soil? No. How much amount of water you supply, all the water gets absorbed into soil. Okay. But if you do this in a clay soil, then what happens? See, water is stored. Why? Means its holding capacity is more, right? And then rainfall. Whatever the rainfall, whether we're getting a more rains or less rains, like this, and even temperatures. Whatever the temperatures, whether we're getting more temperatures or medium temperatures or low temperatures. In this way, all these factors are taken into consideration, okay, before they start this agriculture, especially this rice. Why? Means these factors they vary from time to time. Vary means they change from time to time, and season to season, and also from place to place. Okay, that's why before we start this growing of rice, we take all these points into consideration, right? And then farmers start agriculture works before monsoon reaches, right? Before monsoon means beginning before the rainy season, they start the work. Why? Means rainy season means in that rainy season we get much water. Okay, that's why before this rainy season they prepare the soil. And they make everything ready. So that by the time this rains occur, and so that they get good profits. Correct. Okay, that's why most of the farmers, they make this preparation ready by what? By which season? By May or June. Okay. Why? Means from the time onwards we get what? That's the rains. And at the time they celebrate the festivals like Eruvaka. Have you heard about this? In especially in the villages, at the time they conduct a special festival, and we call that festival as Eruvaka, and some folk type of dances and some special songs are sung by this farmers. Have you heard about that song? Yeah, of course you can hear. Have you heard this? Yeah, this is very beautiful song, and almost all the farmers they like to hear this kind of songs, right? Okay. Then what's the next one means? Sowing to storing. Sowing. What is mean by sowing? Sowing means putting the seed in the soil can be called as a sowing, and then it's just storing. Storing means after cutting the crop, or after cutting separating this food, what we do? That means we store that for a future purpose. Correct. That means from beginning to ending, what steps we can find. Means, when we observe this agriculture, in this agriculture we can find different types of activities are going on. Okay, and actually for all the people who are doing different types of works, teachers and the next engineers like this, they have certain timings. Okay, for example, take a teachers 8:30 to 4 or 4:30 like this, and even your parents also going to the plant from time to time. But can you say any special timings for the farmers? No, they don't have any timings. Okay, throughout, that means throughout the day, that means without bothering about day or a night, or whether it's raining or not. No, the farmers are very busy, right? So I means it is a continuous process, right? So in this process we can find different types of activities. What's the first one? That is preparing the soil. No, preparing the soil means making the land level, and the next ploughing the soil. Okay, this is very important step. And the next sowing of seeds. After that they keep the seeds in the soil. Okay, and I know this is also very important step. Why means seed is a foundation for the agriculture. When a seed is good and healthy, then automatically we get good production. Then applying manure means fertilizers like this. Have you seen the farmers are supplying this fertilizers, right? Yeah, you can see this. Yeah, and the next irrigation is also very important. Irrigation means supplying of water. Okay, today we are using some advanced methods like a drip irrigation, the next sprinkler irrigation, right? Okay, the next de-weeding means removal of weeds. Kalupu makalu. Yeah, removing that process is called de-weeding. The next crop harvesting means cutting down of trees, these plants, right? In the olden days we can find people, that means many people are called for this activity, but now we are using a machine that is called a harvester. Have you seen that? Once that machine moves, then what means many activities are completed. This machine cuts the plant, separate the grain, and then that grain is collected in a chamber. Got it? And what's the last one? There is a storage. That means how to store this grains, and the next way to store these grains, like godowns. Godowns. Have you seen godowns? Private godowns and government godowns, right? So in this godowns we can store these grains for a certain period, right? So that's all for today, and we continue this in the next class. Okay, thank you.